Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. With over 1,000 NCAA commitments, the EHL is the proven path to college. Turn it up and learn more about the college placement leader at the Division II and III levels.
Welcome into the E-Show once again. My name is Neil Ravin. This is episode number 19, featuring the Connecticut Chiefs and the head coach and general manager, Neil Breen. The first time, Neil, that I've interviewed someone with the same name as me. Welcome to the E-Show.
Thank you very much, Neil. It's good to be here.
So let's jump right into it. It was probably a little bit over a year ago at this time when you were hired. How do you feel about where you're at this year as opposed to a year ago?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I think, obviously I've had more time to kind of put the team together. It's under different circumstances, of course, but, I have a better sense of the league and sort of what type of player can be successful at this level. So, we're feeling really good about our situation and I really like it out here. I started my career in the EHL. I don't think it was called the EHL back then, but it was the same league. I was excited to get back here. So feeling really good. Hoping for many more years.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because you're from the state of Washington. You've been to Connecticut before. However you want to tell this story, can you tell us how you made it from Washington to Connecticut and then even back to Connecticut again?
Yeah, so born and raised in Spokane. Hockey in Spokane is sort of it's a minor thing. They have a Western Hockey League team, the Spokane Chiefs. That's about the highest level. But if you want to play college hockey out there, it's not really the route you want to go. So, I ended up playing junior hockey in the BCHL, 16-year-old, got recruited to the Omaha Lancers in the UHL, and then that's out of there is when I got a scholarship to Quinnipiac University in Hamden, Connecticut. Played there for 4 years and, sort of stuck around here after pro and, started working in various rinks around the area. And then I started working with Chris Arella, believe it or not, back then it was the Wolfpack, the Hartford Junior Wolfpack. And so I was there for a few years. I went off and coached in the NAL and the USHL and the various other leagues, and then found my way back here to Connecticut just last year.
So let's pick that apart. One step at a yeah, let's pick that apart one step at a time. I mentioned this is the first time for me interviewing someone with the same name as me, but we also both went to Quinnipiac. I know for myself personally, I didn't know much about Quinnipiac when I was looking for a college to go to. Obviously, the hockey program nowadays has built a pretty big name for itself. How did you even find Quinnipiac when you were, from Washington?
Well, that's the thing is I didn't find them; they found me. I'm a decent player my last year in the USHL. I put up almost 70 points, just shy of 70 points. I was an all-star in my last year, and so I had some options. Like I was talking to quite a few schools, and Rand Pecknold, just would not leave me alone. Like he called me, once a week, and really showed a lot of interest in me as a player versus the other schools that were just, they were interested, but they didn't seem to really want me as bad as wanted me to come. So, I actually never even visited the campus. I committed to Quinnipiac without even going on a visit. Like I visited a bunch of schools, so I think I was out of visits or something. At the time, they had limitations on how many visits you could take. So I never actually visited the campus. Rand goes, Hey, Breener, I don't know if this means anything to you, but we have a 7-to-1 girl-to-guy ratio here at Quinnipiac University. I said, all right, let's go. Let's sign me up. So,
So
yeah,
that was your first time in Connecticut, as you're saying. So did you kind of fall in love with the state, and then you thought to yourself, when the time is right, if there's a spot, I want to make it back to Connecticut or New England?
Yeah, that's actually cool that you asked that. Like, so when I started working in this league, I mean, at the time, I think it was called the EJ.
Yeah.
And then they had the Met League, which is like what the EHLP is, I guess, today.
Yep.
So I really just loved the way things were done. I liked the caliber of hockey. I enjoyed my time in the state of Connecticut in college too, from what I can remember. And, over the course of time of me living in Connecticut, I really just fell in love with the area. I like that, you're close to New York City and you're close to Boston. And, I'm big into the arts. Like, I love theater, and there's a lot of theater in the area. So it's just something that I've always liked it out here ever since I came out here. And that's exactly it. I said, you know what, if I get an opportunity to come out and work out east, I'm definitely going to do it. Like I look at guys like Chris Sorella, who has been out here forever, and he's been working in this league for, since I did a lot longer. He's happy. He's enjoying his time. He's able to help a lot of players move on to the next level. And, him and I played hockey together. I mean, I respect Chris Sorella very much. And so, so I just look at how happy he's been, and, how much he's flourished. And that's what I want for me and my family. So, I think I look at this opportunity in the EHL as like a gold mine. I'm super happy to be here.
And it's something that you're fortunate to have both on and off the ice, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, I love working in this league. I love, I like a lot of the guys that work in the league. I respect a lot of the ownership groups, and it's really well run. And then, I'm excited to show up to work every day. I mean, it's cool to talk to kids on the phone that are impressed that they're talking to an EHL coach. It's, and then I love the area. I mean, I think it's a great place for my kids to grow up and stuff. So I'm, all around happy to be here.
And one thing that you're probably very fortunate of is the staff that you've been able to join with the Chiefs. Start with ownership and Brandon Johnson, his right-hand man, and Ike Corvo. You're the head coach and GM for both teams. Logan Wilt, your assistant coach. John Hissick, an assistant coach. Bob D'Alessio, an equipment manager. Jose Resto, the game day operations. I'm not even naming everyone, but you guys have a full staff that all contributes towards the same goal. How does that make your job that much easier?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Listen, I've been in this business quite a long time in a lot of different leagues, and had some interesting ownership situations. And I got to be honest with you, like, Brandon and Ike have been fantastic. Very much in the same mindset as me as far as, player development. They think the game the same way I do. I feel like, I've been kind of blessed to be here because of that. You got to understand the landscape of junior hockey. There's owners that get it, and there's owners that don't. And these are definitely owners that get it. And then the staff around me is icing on the cake. Like, I was able to bring in Logan, and he's just a workhorse. Like, the guy just works his butt off every day, and he wants to learn and be a successful coach himself. So he's been doing a great job, and having Bob D'Alessio as an equipment manager that's been an equipment guy in the show. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right? Like, the guy's got unbelievable stories, and he's a character, and we all love him. Like, it's awesome to have him. And, of course, Jose does a great job with the games, and, it's just a perfect environment for a coach like me to focus on what I do best and grow as a coach. I mean, imagine having a guy that put 20 plus years in the NHL, in pro, Ike Gorvo, at your side, telling stories. And, I can ask him, anytime I need to, be like, hey man, what do you think about this? And we get in long discussions about, things, and, he'll share advice with me, like, and he'll see things, which I love. You can never be in a situation where you know everything. If you think you're one of those guys, like, you're not going to be friends with me. I love the camaraderie and the way we share information and learn together. It's pretty awesome. Like, I learned a ton from Brandon as well. Like, Brandon's a seasoned coach, and he's been out there, he's done it, and just the two of them really have helped me become a better coach. So it's been fantastic.
And now, stepping back, we touched on your playing days a little bit, but it's interesting because in between playing and coaching, you kind of stepped away from the game. Did you feel a need to clear your mind of sorts, or take a break from hockey, or what was it that you were going through?
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything. I mean, like, you get to a point where, you do it your whole life, and then it ends for you, and it's like you go into culture shock. Like, I have to live in the real world now, like, do real world things. And that's what I tried to do. I was like, well, I got a degree in, communications and theater and stuff like that. So, I should do that. And I did that, and it was miserable, I guess it was, like, our jobs are hard. Like, we do hard work as coaches and recruiters and things like that. Like, it's a hard work. Like, I'm not trying to say it's easy by any means, but yeah, everything else out there is really hard work, I guess, that I didn't want to do. Hockey is what I knew, and every job that I took, I worked for Fox News as a master editor and videographer. I worked in a theater as a sound technician. I worked for a sound company installing, big sound systems and things like that. Like, I did a bunch of different crap, and I hated all of it. It was horrible. I learned a ton and had a lot of great experiences, met a lot of cool people, but I just always kept coming back to hockey. Hockey was my thing,
Was there like a day that you woke up and you were like, I got to get back to hockey? I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, that was every day. I was like, oh, this is horrible. Yeah, no, I mean, I really try to convince myself that I didn't need hockey to live life. And, like, every day I woke up and lost that battle. Like, I literally, said to myself, like, I got to get back into hockey. And so I took a really interesting turn once I moved back to Connecticut the first time after college. Like, I came back, and I wanted to coach, but I wanted to learn from the ground up. So I started doing skills sessions and training and things like that. And, off ice stuff and on ice. And then I became a teacher because I felt like I needed to know how to deliver a lesson. So I did Teach for America, which is, it's like AmeriCorps. They teach you how to be a teacher real quick and give you a certification and chuck you in, underperforming schools to try to help those schools and the kids in them. And it was an awesome experience, but it was very difficult. Anyway, I learned how to teach and deliver a lesson, and then and then that's when, once I was done with that, that's when Sorella brought me on to start coaching. And so I think I really got into it the right way. At some point, I think I want to jump to the next level. I mean, that could be 10 years from now. I don't care, but I'm kind of approaching this like I did as a player. I want to try to get as high as I can, I guess.
Okay. And before we get back into the hockey side of things, I do have to ask, where and how does becoming an MMA fighter fit into all of this?
No, I was trying to avoid that. Okay. When I was doing a lot of off ice stuff and training clients, I got a lot of this, like, oh, Breener, you should be an MMA fighter. Like, you'd be great. You were such a good fighter in hockey. And it's like, okay, challenge accepted. So, I joined a gym and fell in love with the sport and, just decided that I was going to go full tilt into it. This was before I started coaching, like, a lot. So I basically did lessons and trained every day for like 6 years. It was crazy.
Well, okay, we'll transition off of that because it shows the strength and conditioning side of you, which is something that you're actually pretty passionate about right now as well during this quarantine. I have my Peloton behind me, but you just finished a challenge. I think you had to bike across basically an entire state, right? Can you tell us more about what you did?
Yeah, so Brandon Johnson, our owner, has a nephew, Jordan Johnson, who has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a terrible disease that really debilitates kids and shortens their lifespan. And his family struggles with that every day. And I thought during this quarantine, like, I could do something positive to kind of get myself in shape and to benefit somebody else. And so I decided to do a fundraiser for the Jet Foundation, which is a primary foundation to support kids with muscular dystrophy and Duchenne. And so I decided, well, my home state is Washington. It's 360 miles wide. I'll just bike across the state of Washington, and maybe people donate more money because I'm doing something ridiculous like that. And when you know it, like I did, we raised over $2,000, and I biked across the state of Washington, and it's awesome. Like, I mean, I was so tired after doing that. Like, it was a lot, but it was worth it. Like, a little bit of pain, compared to what Jordan goes through on a daily basis, and what his family goes through is nothing really, like it was a drop in the hat compared to that. So, I mean, I felt compelled to do something like that. And, I think I'm going to do it again. Like, I'm going to do something like that again. I'm going to go across another state to benefit something else. I mean, I think, I like the fact that it's almost like you're forcing yourself to work out because you're like, oh man, I'm doing it for the kids,
Yeah.
And it's like guilts you into doing it. But at the same time, like, it's a really positive thing to do, and it makes you feel good about yourself, and you're getting to help out a really good foundation. So 360 miles, man. I made it.
How many days did that take you? Did you have a goal of a certain number of miles per day, or did you just say take a month?
Yeah, the goal was to raise initially it was to raise $1,000, and I made that in the first 24 hours. Like, people just donated like crazy. And I hadn't even stepped on the bike yet. So I was like, whoa, okay. So then I upped the money to $2,000. I'm like, hold on, people. Like, let me actually get on the bike. Like, you're foiling my plan. And then I decided that I was going to try to accomplish it in 30 days or less.
Okay.
So on day 29 is when I finished. I had like 6 miles to go on day 29. I had ridden like basically every day, but a couple of days I rode like 15 to 20 miles, which is like, now that I think about that, like that's insane.
And there was never a day when you were like, am I going to make it or not? No.
You know what? There were some times when I was like, man, like I have, like in the middle of it, like I have like 200 plus miles to go. Like, I don't think I'm going to make it, like my legs hurt so bad. And, but like at the end of the day, again, it's like, I was like, man, I got to finish because, like if I don't, like I look like such an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I'm saying I'm going to do all this for Jordan, and, and his mom and dad are so cool. Like, they're such good people and supporters of the Chiefs. Like, there was no way I was not finishing. Like, I had to do it. You know what I mean? So
I love it. So now let's return to your coaching. You mentioned how after a brief time away, you wanted to get back into hockey. You couldn't take it anymore. From the Wolfpack to time spent in the NA, USHL, back in the EHL, Western States League. You've come into probably hundreds of different rinks across the country. Are there any Are there any rinks that you've come across? That doesn't matter what league. Maybe you even mention one from our league that you've come across and you're like, you know what? I love going to that rink.
Oh, that's a good one. I don't. I mean, obviously, there's so many rinks. Like, they all blend together at this point.
Well, I will say this then. For your rink, it's the best snack bar in the league, right? I think everyone tells us that. So
it's unreal. Yeah. No, you see, it's terrible for a fat guy like me too, right? Like going to work every day with that there, it's unbelievable. Honestly, like I don't think there's one particular that I'd be like in our league that I'd be like, oh, I can't wait to go there. Okay. Like, I mean, they're all pretty, they're all pretty good. And like, there's not any one that stands out as being horrible. So like, you know what I mean? Like I would say like the rink that I really like to go to when I come out here is, Quinnipiac's arena. I don't know, like in a small way, I feel like the boys, myself and all the boys like Chris and all the guys I played with at Quinnipiac, like in a small way, I feel like we helped build that facility. So there's an element of pride that goes into it when you walk in that building. Like, you're like, I helped build this, Yeah. So I think that's probably the, and I got a banner in there and stuff, which is just always kind of cool to brag, like when my kids are old enough to realize, hey, look 3 names below Chris Torella there. There's my name.
I was gonna bring up Quinnipiac's rink because, like we were mentioning earlier in the podcast, the program wasn't as big when you played in it, but it's grown over the years. Rand Pecknold's been there the entire time, and now they have this multi-million-dollar facility on top of the hill, kind of overlooking the whole town of Hamden. So for those that have not driven through Hamden before, I can speak to it as well. It's a rink that you're going to remember because when you walk in, it's bright, it's clean, it's brand new, it's sparkling, it's shiny, and it gets kind of loud too.
Oh, it's unreal. They did a great job with the design of it. And believe it or not, like the sound company that put in the stereo system in that place, I worked for that company. I'm not even kidding. So like, hey, Breener, you got a job today. You're going to love it. And I'm like, what? You're going to put in speakers at Quinnipiac University. What? Okay.
So then you really did help build it. You really did help build it.
Literally helped build it.
So back to the EHL now as we begin to look forward towards the 2020-21 season. You're coming off your first year in the league. Obviously, you're going to look to make a step up from this past season. Not that it was a bad year by any means, but you learned a lot, I'm sure, in your first year. And then in your conference and how tough it was, did you ever come across any players or any teams and you said to yourself, in the future, I'd love to have a player like that on my team?
Yeah, you texted me that question earlier, and I was like, man, that's a like way in-depth question. So I mean, there's a bunch of players that would jump out at me. Like I really like the young, he played in the EHLP last year, the young kid in Boston, the Malandrenko.
Malandrucolo.
Malandrucolo.
Yes, there's a bunch of letters in there.
Yeah. Like I really like. There's a kid that I'm sure Richie's like excited to work with this kid, right? Because he's willing to develop through the system. Play on the younger team and work his way up. Like that's an exciting player to work with. Young, tons of skill. Kind of an empty canvas as far as the grit and the defensive part of the game. Like he, obviously needs to work on some of that stuff, but like that, I like that type of player, like somebody that you can really help because he's got a ton of potential, right? Like the kid's going to do really well this year in EHL if he can figure out the physicality part of it and learning how to use a smaller, like I had to do that as a player, right? I was smaller and had to learn how to use my body the right way. So it's cool to work with kids like that. I mean, that's the best example I can come up with. I'm sorry. It's not very exciting.
It's different than the 4 other ones that I've had so far, right? That's the goal of that question, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could easily say, like list a bunch of guys that, produced a bunch of points, but I think I like the development part of the game, so I feel like that was a more robust answer for you.
And now as we continue to turn the page, do you have any short-term goals and long-term goals that, are written on a board in your office that you say, this is where I want our team to be this season coming up, and here's what I want our team to be in 3 years?
So I mean, I have the mental Rolodex goals and I have like some journals that I write in and stuff. Like like this year I want to be, I want to be in the top, 3-4. I want to, as a team and be super competitive in playoffs. Obviously I'd love to win, right? But like realistic, like I want to go as far as possible with the club. And then, the following year I want to bring in a team that can take it, that can run. And then, by our 4th year, we're turning over, 12 to 14 NCAA commitments, a season. And it's, kind of like a well-oiled machine at that point. I mean, I think we're, this next year, ultimately, the ultimate goal for every year is to continue to up our game with NCAA commitments, right? We got a couple more coming through the pipeline here, but, when all is said and done this year, we'll have like 3 or 4 NCAA commitments. Next season, we plan to have, 8, 9, 10 NCAA commitments, somewhere in that number. And then I would like that number to continue to improve year by year. So, and then, I think that's a realistic goal. I think, that's the ultimate goal of the league. And that's what we want to do, is move kids on to the next level, and I wouldn't mind there being some tier 2 movement as well. Like, kids moving up to tier 2 and tier 1. Like, I think that's, if we're recruiting the right kids, like that's going to happen year by year. You know what I mean? And I think it's important for people to know that too about our league, is we're not trying to hold on at all. If a kid gets an opportunity at tier 1 or tier 2, like we want them to take that opportunity. So for any of the listeners out there, like, that's a goal of ours too. We talk about it as coaches all the time. Yeah.
All right. Well, I like it. It's a one step at a time mentality, and it kind of reminds me exactly of what the Seahawks Hockey Club has done over the years with Bill Zanaboni. Every year he said, how do we get a step further than the year before, make the playoffs, then win a playoff game, then the Frozen Finals, then title.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the commitment number nonstop continues to grow.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal over any of the other stuff. Like, as long as we're churning out college hockey players on a yearly basis, like, we're doing our job. Like, yes, I want to win, and yes, I want to go to the Frozen Finals and everything, but at the end of the day, like, the number one thing for all of us, I think, I think any of the coach in this league would say, we want to churn out NCAA hockey players every year.
Period. I love it. Well,
Period.
I'm looking forward to receiving those upcoming future commits of yours. Obviously, we have a couple already in players that are going to Trinity and the Post, and obviously going through a really weird time right now. But I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I wish you and your family the best here as we stay safe and hopefully work back to normal here soon. And good luck with the rest of the recruiting.
Thanks, buddy. I see your Peloton back there. Get on
it. I will.
All right. Take care. Thank you very much for having me, Neil.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.